were down in southern Iraq, and we were working with an NGO there. And we had an opportunity to go over to Najaf. And it was really before a lot of the hostilities developed in Iraq toward Americans. We were very welcome there. We were treated very well. But we went over into Najaf, and we were there. It's the second holiest site to the Shiites in the world. And it's the place where Ali is buried. And we went in there and we started talking. We asked some questions. And I won't go into the entire story here, but the conversation just got more and more intense. And before the conversation was fully over, we were arrested, and we were put on trial. They actually impounded some judges, and we were put on trial for blasphemy, for desecration of a holy site. They assigned us an attorney, and by the grace of God, we were delivered from there. It could have ended much worse. We could have all ended up dead. And our intentions were noble. Our desire to share the gospel was just to talk about Jesus, but we ended up in a conversation that really was offensive to these folks. Just a few months ago, we were in Iran, and Iran really is more radical than Iraq. And we had been studying this whole method of sharing the gospel with Muslims. Message hadn't changed, our intentions hadn't changed. Nothing had really changed except this different approach to sharing the gospel with Muslims. And when we went into Iraq, I requested an audience with one of the head imams in Qum. And in Qum, there are 100,000 theological students in that one city. It is the holiest site to the Shiites in the entire world. It's the place that they think the Mahdi is coming back to. And we were granted 10 minutes with this imam. And we went in there and we exchanged our greetings, and it was a very gracious, just a whole lot like it was in Najaf. And as a matter of fact, I was having a few flashbacks, to Najaf, where, it started off with "you're very welcome" and ended up with "Allah Akbar," and I'm thinking, you're giving us tea now. I hope in a few minutes you're not going to end up dragging us before a tribunal. But that 10-minute conversation turned into a 2-hour conversation. And we were able to share Jesus with these folks, and it was so gracious and amazing. And at the end of the conversation, he said, "Why don't you come back and spend a month with us?" The gospel hadn't changed, the message hadn't changed, but the way we approached it changed. And as a result of that, one ended up with guns and trials and really the prospect of being killed. The other ended up with long conversations, inviting us to dinner, and a real conversation about Jesus. And what we've learned in this is we really need to just change the conversation. Instead of having a conversation about is it Islam versus Christianity, when you change the conversation to Jesus, it changes everything.